Hello, people. I hope you're having a very nice Dead by Daylight developer update. I know I sure am. And BHVR has just released their developer update for the shitty game I play. For their for their upcoming changes. This is going to be from what I understand, it's going to be the Prestige rework, and more importantly, the big perk overhaul they're doing for a lot of perks in this game. This is the first time BHVR, I think, has, as far as my memory is concerned, has really specifically referenced the perk meta, I feel like, directly in like an official way. Like, as you can see here, they're talking about meta perk changes and non-meta perk changes up here. So that's pretty cool. I'm really hoping that what they deliver here is, something that'll really actually shake up the meta in terms of perks, especially on the Survivor side of things. I mean, the Survivor meta has pretty much been nearly the same since release, for the past 6 to 5 years. So it would be nice to get some changes in that department. The killer perk changes will probably be pretty cool as well, but we'll see what is going to happen. We're going to look at this together for the first time, you and me. Maybe you're not looking at it for the first time, but I'm looking at it for the first time, at least this developer update. I know mostly what is coming with the prestige changes, but we'll just glance over that. But I'm more interested in the perk stuff. So we will come down here. Then this post, the upcoming changes available for testing in the PTB. So that'll be coming to the PTB next week. I'm not going to play that. I don't play PTBs. I think they're annoying to download and have to play through and all that. So I'll just catch them when they're live, but I'll certainly watch other people play the PTB. And I'm just here to give my opinion on this and what I think so far. So this is like very initial thoughts, so stuff might be wrong, might be out of pat, but we'll see. Anyways, overhaul progression system. Collecting all the perks has been an important goal for many players. However, since both the number of perks and characters are constantly increasing, the grind expands at an exponential rate with every new chapter. So they're overhauling progression. That's always good. I don't think anyone's going to ever complain about this. In the current system, you must reach level 40 on a given character to unlock their teachable perks. Then find those perks in the blood webs for every other character. In order to unlock all of the new perks on every character by the time the next chapter releases, you would need to play at an estimated 4.1 hours every day. With this new system, that estimate decreases to an average about an hour a day. And that's not even factoring in blood point bonuses from events, perks, and other offerings. In other words, this is a single largest reduction to grind we've ever made, cutting it down by roughly 75%. That's really good. The grind is bad in this game. I am lucky enough that I joined this game in late 2019, so I've pretty much had almost everything unlocked up to this point, outside of obviously prestiges, which I didn't care about until recently. But I would hate having to get involved in this game now. I mean, there's so many characters, so many perks. It would be so dizzying. So I'm glad BHVR is finally addressing something with this directly. Unlocking perks, the teachable rarity is no more. Now perks are tied directly to prestige. Prestiging a character for the first time will instantly unlock the tier 1 versions of their unique perks for all other killers or survivor. Prestiging a character for the second or third time will unlock the tier 2 and 3 versions of their unique perks. Alternatively, higher tier versions of their perks will randomly appear in the blood webs once the first tier has been unlocked. This is stuff they've talked about in the 6th anniversary broadcast, if you watched that. So this is stuff they're all delivering on that they talked about there, which is super sick. Here they're just giving an example. Say you prestige the Trapper, you'll instantly unlock tier 1 versions of Agitation, Brutal Strength, and Unnerving Presence. That's going to be sick. So basically, prestiging your characters is just going to make the grind easier overall for all the other characters, which is great. So obviously, you're going to want to, if you really care about this kind of thing, you're going to want to prioritize characters that have perks you care about. So definitely going to want Leatherface up to Prestige 3, I would say, for barbecue on all killers. David to tier 3. Our Prestige 3s for We're Gonna Live Forever on all survivors. You're definitely going to want that. That makes life a lot easier. But also, maybe those perks won't even be as necessary anymore, as they're totally just reducing the grind here. So, we'll see. No more resets. Prestiging has always been a bit of a dilemma. Do you give up everything for bragging rights? Or do you keep what you have and minimize the grind? Prestiging a character will no longer remove their perks, items, add-ons, or offerings. Perk slots will also remain after unlocking the prestige. With no reason not to prestiging a character is no longer optional. After reaching level 50, you'll receive a special blood web with only a single node. Purchasing this node will increase your prestige level and reset your character's level to 1. That's pretty sick. Yeah, if they're doing it this way, there's no reason not to prestige, especially if nothing resets, which is great. I've always thought it's annoying that things reset because you basically lose event items and add-ons and offerings, all that old stuff that you might want to keep around for sentimental reasons. You pretty much lose all that stuff, which kind of sucks, unless you don't really care about it. I'm neither here nor there, but it still does kind of suck that you would lose that stuff. So it's cool that they're making it so you don't lose anything. Also, the fact that you're just going to be able to keep your perks and items and add-ons, it's going to mean you're going to be able to build a nice collection on the characters you actually care about. With prestige now being the way to progress, it'll no longer be as impressive to have your characters maxed out at prestige level 3. It only made sense to have the new way to recognize our most committed players. So we've removed the prestige limit entirely, but what would more prestige levels be without rewards? Once reaching prestige 4, 5, and 6 will now reward that character's bloody prestige cosmetics, once again signifying that those who want to go above and beyond, now that prestiging for the first 3 times awards perks, it only made sense to move these higher. If you've already unlocked these cosmetics, don't worry, we won't take them away from you. You've earned it. That's pretty cool that you'll be able to keep that. I got bloody stuff on some people, and I've been working through a lot of the characters to get their bloody cosmetics and all that stuff. But here it's obviously just going to be a lot easier. You're just going to have to go up to 4, 5, and 6, though, which probably still won't take as long as it would currently for 1, 2, and 3. For the completionists, Prestige 7, 8, and 9 will grant one of the characters unique perks as a charm. That's pretty cool. We also wanted to highlight your dedication to your favorite characters no matter how many times you've prestiged them. Once a trial is over, your prestige level will now be shown in the space previously occupied by grades. That's also going to be super sick. The characters you're going to be able to play a lot are going to show up, or their prestige level is going to show up in the end game, so you can kind of flex them. That's also really sick. I also like how they're doing the whole unique perks as a charm thing. It's a nice little collectible bonus for the people who care about specific perks a lot. If you like a perk a lot, you can flex it as a charm. That's pretty cool. All this is great stuff. I mean, none of this is like bad stuff. Shrine of Secrets. Unlike before, where the Shrine of Secrets would offer teachable perks that then needed to be found in the Blood Web, the Shrine will allow you to purchase perks directly. Purchasing a perk through a Shrine of Secrets will make the Tier 1 version of it immediately available on all killers or survivors, much like Prestige. That's also nice. Shrine of Secrets to me just didn't really matter all that much. Even when I was first starting the game, I was like, I bought, I think, Monitor and Abuse in the Shrine of Secrets, and I was like, oh, does that mean I get to use it on, like, everyone? And I realized I still had to unlock it on, like, everyone, and I was like, oh, this sucks. I just wasted, like, I just wasted 2,000 shards for, like, no reason. So I just figured, screw it, I'll just unlock everything normally and keep my shards. So, nice that they're changing that. With many spending hundreds, if not thousands of hours playing DBD over the years, we want to make sure that everyone is rewarded fairly. When the system releases, we'll be automatically awarding existing players with an appropriate number of prestige levels based on how many perk tiers they've unlocked. If you've left your characters at level 50 and focused on unlocking perks, your work won't be for nothing. That's pretty sick. It's also important that you don't lose anything when the system is updated. We'll keep any perks and bloody cosmetics you've had before. Those who reach Prestige 3 before the update will receive a special Prestige icon to recognize their achievements and commemorate the perks and add-ons they lost in the process. So that's also really cool. They said they were doing something special with people who reach P3 with the older system, and I'm glad to see it is actually something that'll translate pretty cool in game. I'm all down for a unique border on some of the characters I already have P3 on, so that's pretty awesome. I'm also interested to see what characters, like what prestige level some of my characters get up to, since I've been leveling them up. Some characters I've leveled up a fucking ton, so we'll see what happens. Matchmaking incentives, I think this is going to be the blood point thing. I kind of want to blow through this stuff pretty quickly because I do want to get to the perk changes, because that's the stuff I'm actually going to talk about for quite a bit. This is the matchmaking incentive stuff. Being an asymmetrical game, Dead by Daylight works best when there's roughly 4 survivors to each killer. This is a 4-to-1. If this 4-to-1 ratio deviates too far, matchmaking time and quality will start to degrade. Too many survivors will cause survivor queues to increase, while too few survivors will cause killer queue times to increase. To complicate things further, this ratio varies greatly depending on your region, rating, and time of day. In some regions, we've observed an excess of survivor queuing, while in others, too few. Oftentimes this will change over the course of the day. So here they're just whenever the number of killer and survivors differs too much from the ideal ratio, we'll offer a blood point bonus to anyone who opts to play these needed roles. The bonuses range from 25% to 100% depending on the demand levels. These bonuses will be shown in the main menu beside each role plays button, as well as beside the ready button. That's really sick. You know damn well I'm going to be playing the role that's going to offer me more blood points. You know damn well I'm going to do that. So that's pretty cool. Nice way to incentivize people to play the other side. We'll see how, well, I'm sure this will definitely work to help queues out, and we'll see how much it does help queues out. I think queues have been pretty decent recently for both sides, but obviously certain circumstances, there's an event going on and other things, but even before that, I thought the queues were pretty decent. But we'll see how this changes things, and we'll see if it makes it any better. At the very least, it'll allow you to get more blood points, which I'm always down for more blood points. I'm also seeing, I'm reading up and seeing if there's anything they've added here that they wasn't in the anniversary thing. I think down here, playing in a group can also net you a bonus if survivors are needed at the time. However, this will only apply if your group's average matchmaking rating is currently in demand. We believe these matchmaking incentives will improve both queue as matchmaking incentives will be disabled if crossplay is turned off, as most players play with crossplay on. Okay, so I don't think there's anything too different here. I thought that maybe they were adding something else from the 6th anniversary update, but it's mostly the same stuff. Here we go. Here's the cool stuff. Gameplay updates. This is what we're looking for. Some of the most consistent feedback we receive centers around the perk meta. A handful of perks have a dominant usage rate, especially in higher skill matches. Naturally, the gameplay can feel stale when you see the same perks again and again. In the past, we've addressed individual perks through various updates, but the odd meta change is not enough to shake things up. In the update, we are reworking and rebalancing 39 perks, meta included. We aim to reduce the reliance on the current meta while also providing many new options to experiment with. So that's pretty cool. The thing is, something that's always important about meta in a game, especially in a game like Dead by Daylight, for a perk to overtake another perk in the meta, it literally has to be better than the perk it's trying to overtake. So for example, Dead Hard, one of the most popular and contentious survivor perks at the moment, if they want to swap in another exhaustion perk for Dead Hard or make another exhaustion perk meta, they have to make it so another exhaustion perk is basically better than Dead Hard. Your slot, it's like best in slot scenario, right? So the perk slot that's going to be occupied by Dead Hard needs to be occupied by something that's as valuable as Dead Hard, basically. So we're going to see, are they going to tackle that effectively? Obviously, they're directly nerfing some of these perks, some of the meta perks, so I think they might have a good chance of doing so. Some of these perks have definitely needed a nerf for a while now. So we'll definitely see as we read. Generator speeds. When looking at the perks most used by killers, there's a clear trend. Any perk that helps prevent generators from being powered, slowdown perks for short, are favored. Corrupt Intervention, Pop Goes the Weasel, blah, 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 Hex Ruin, all that same stuff you've seen in your games. Many players feel like generators are powered too quickly without these perks, so we knew we needed to look at generators before making any perk changes. Slowdown perks should be an option, but not the only option to stay competitive. First, we've increased the time it takes to power a generator to 90 seconds, up from 80 seconds. The time it takes to complete a generator hasn't been changed in a long time, but it's clear that they are being powered quicker than we'd like. By slowing them down slightly, we hope to give it killers a bigger window to interrupt survivors, particularly at the beginning of the trial. Kicking a generator will now instantly remove 2.5% of the maximum progress. That's a pretty cool change, in my opinion. For a while now, people have talked about how pretty much useless kicking generators are by itself. If you have no perks that rely on kicking generators, if you have nothing to aid in kicking a generator is pretty much a waste of your time, as a survivor can literally just tap the generator, instantly stop the regression, and move on with their life, and it was just all for naught. Adding a little bit of this right here, 2.5% of the maximum progress, is pretty good. That is pretty cool. It's nice to see that they're doing that change. Also nice to see they're taking the generator time from 80 seconds to 90 seconds. I personally would have liked a more intelligent change than just a flat nerf to gen speeds. I really like the idea they had a while ago that they unfortunately scrapped, which was like a trial warm-up time, which is at the beginning of the game, generators are slower, where as the game moves on, the generators' repair speeds get a little bit faster, and then, maybe at the beginning of the game, it takes 100 seconds to repair a generator, but a couple minutes into the game, it goes back to the normal 80 seconds. But, I'm not going to complain with a flat nerf to gen repair speeds. It'll be a little annoying playing Survivor, but I think it's something that most people agree is needed to hopefully shake up the meta. The only thing is, I don't think this is gonna, we'll see obviously with the perk changes, but just because they're nerfing the generator repair speeds doesn't mean people are going to stop using slowdown perks. People are still going to use Corrupt Intervention, Pain Resonance, Ruin, all that stuff. All they're doing technically is just making those perks a little bit stronger, actually, as it's going to take even longer to repair a generator. This is why I was saying something a little bit more intelligent might have been needed when in regards to generator repair speeds, but we'll see what happens. Maybe down below here they have nerfed some of these slowdown perks, so we will see. I can't remember the full list of what was being changed, so you'll have to bear with me as I'm pretty much going into this mostly blind, as honestly the one I remember the most was that Dead Hard was on there, and I was like, shit, that's cool, they're nerfing Dead Hard. I can't stand Dead Hard on both sides. And I think maybe Pain Resonance was on there for the killer side, so we're going to be pretty much seeing for firsthand what a lot of these perks are going to be. This change to making kicking generators more meaningful, even if a survivor stops it from regressing shortly after. Additionally, survivors must now decide whether they should tap a generator to prevent regression, as this allows the killer to kick it again and knock off even more progress. Yeah, so they're just explaining the change there. General killer improvements. The average kill rates, how many survivors are killed each trial on average, are a little lower than we'd like, a sentiment echoed by the community members. To ensure the killers feel like an unstoppable force to be feared, we're making slight improvements to many aspects of the gameplay. We've reduced the time it takes to break walls and pallets by 10%, now 2.34 seconds, previously 2.6. Generators can also be kicked 10% faster than before. With these changes in mind, a fraction of a second can be the difference between hitting a survivor and them reaching a pallet. That's pretty cool. They're basically giving a small amount of brutal strength to literally everyone, similar to back in the day how they made the stun time a lot less. Basically gave everyone base enduring and nerfed enduring, so that's pretty cool. We've reduced the cooldown for successful basic attacks by 10% and reduced the duration of survivors' speed boost upon being hit by 10%. Moving forward, survivors will gain slightly less distance upon being hit. That's a pretty big change, especially to M1 killers. This is something a lot of people have talked about for a long time, and really the issue with M1 killers is that they can oftentimes rely on something like Save the Best for Last to really dominate in chases or really feel strong in chases, especially against good survivors. As you hit a survivor and the amount of distance they gained from just the speed boost alone of hitting them was pretty insane, especially if they just traveled straight. Smart survivors know how to utilize that speed boost they get from being hit, essentially a mini sprint burst. They really know how to utilize that to their advantage and get to somewhere pretty advantageous. So that's pretty cool that they're addressing that directly. We'll see how all these numbers translate in game. We'll see if it's not enough, or we'll see if it's just the right amount, or maybe we'll see if it's too much. Could be anything. Finally, we've tweaked Bloodlust to increase in power quicker than before. In most chases, Bloodlust does not activate, although there are rare cases where it can be necessary. The long build-up often leaves the killer in a bad spot if they eventually get a hit. We are adjusting Bloodlust tiers to activate after 15, 25, 35 seconds of chasing rather than 15, 30, 45. As the first tier, Bloodlust has not been changed. It will not be any more prevalent in the average chase. Bearing in mind the general improvements above, we expect bloodlust will become even more uncommon outside of exceptional circumstances. Though slight, these changes affect every killer and can have the ramifications on the game. I'm not sold on the bloodlust change, admittedly. I actually dislike bloodlust as a mechanic. I think it promotes a very kind of mindless form of gameplay of just holding W at a survivor and waiting for the game to do the work. The main downside of bloodlust, obviously, was that it took you 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 45 seconds to reach each tier of bloodlust. And obviously they're not changing the first tier, which is fine, but the second and third tier is being changed down. In total, it's going to take you, it's 5 seconds less for tier 2 and 10 seconds less for tier 3, which is a total of 15 seconds down overall, which is pretty big. Time DBD is a pretty big thing, and I don't know. I'll have to see how it works in game, but I really dislike the idea of someone bloodlusting at a loop and effectively it taking less time if they're just going to do that, and the survivor really doesn't have a whole lot of options to deal with that. But obviously, I'm not done the thing yet. We'll see what comes next. I'm not sold on the bloodlust change here because I'm very anti-bloodlust for the most part. I think that maps should just be designed better, and other things should just be designed better rather than just slapping on a mechanic that's potentially a little bit lazy, very behavior-esque, you know. But we'll see. As I'm saying, we're still reading through this, and there's a lot. It looks like there's a lot still to go. So I'm going to try to, we're at 20 minutes already, so I'm going to try to get through this a little bit quicker. Can't get tunneling. On the survivor side, it's very clear preference that for perks to grant a second chance, bar time, decisive strike, or dead hard. A benefit for the second chance perks is how that they help prevent what was he saying? A benefit of the second chance perks is how that they prevent unfun situations, namely being camped or tunneled out of the game, repeatedly being targeted. In order to incentivize a meaningful change to the meta, it was clear that we needed to address these controversial tactics. Second chance perks should be nice to have, not essential, ensuring enjoyable gameplay. Moving forward, survivors will receive a 5-second endurance effect after being unhooked. This gives the unhooked survivor an opportunity to reach a nearby window or pallet, or for another survivor to position themselves for a protection hit. That's pretty cool. They talked earlier about giving base borrowed time, so I'm not sure if borrowed time is going to now just extend this duration, if it's going to do something completely different. We'll have to see that. Additionally, the unhooked survivor will receive a 7% haste for 5 seconds. This will make them harder to catch and encourage killers to shift to focus on the unhooking survivor. Both effects will be canceled prematurely if the unhooked survivor performs what we now call a conspicuous action. These are interactions other than being chased that would improve your chances of survival. This includes repairing a generator, healing yourself or others, cleansing or blessing a totem, sabotaging a hook, unhooking others, opening an exit gate. This is all pretty cool, actually. I like this. Base borrowed time is super sick. It's super annoying. This is great for solo queue players. Let me tell you that. Especially as someone who has played solo queue a number of times and still plays solo queue, Survivor a number of times. Getting farmed off hook is the worst feeling in the entire world, and it makes you want to hate the game. The solo survivor, in my opinion, is weaker than the killer, actually. If you're just alone as a survivor, by yourself, no teammates, not on comms with anyone, I think you're weaker than the killer, all things considered. You have so little information. You have so little going on. This is all great stuff. The 5-second endurance by default is awesome. The 7% haste is awesome, as there's so many times where the killer now can just, especially with how short the endurance effect can be, especially even on borrowed time now, they can just wait out the borrowed time super easily. So that 7% haste really helps that out, helps you get to a location better. And it's really cool if they considered the option, or consider the fact that if you are like going to immediately hop on a generator like right in front of them or some shit like that, that you're not just going to be able to get away with it. It's going to cancel out all this stuff. So that's really, really cool, especially now that they have like a name for that. That's really awesome. That's going to be something they can incorporate more into other perks. Meta perk changes. For this update, perk changes fall into one of two categories: meta perks that are used too often and non-meta perks that serve a similar purpose but aren't used as much. I'm assuming they're going to be listing the meta perks here. So we got for killers, Barbecue and Chili, Hex Ruin, Pop Quiz the Weasel, Corrupt Intervention, Tinkerer, Noed, and Scourge Hook Pain Resonance. And for survivors, Dead Hard, Borrow Time, Decisive Strike, Iron Will, Self Care, and Spine Chill. I think it's really funny that Self Care is still on there. People are really still using Self Care in the year of our entity, 2022. And Barbecue and Chili, I don't think it's really a meta perk. I think it's just a perk that people ran to deal with the grind of this game. So we'll see what happens. I really hope they don't nerf Barbecue and Chili. I mean, at the very least, they're definitely not going to nerf the blood point gain aspect of it. But, I mean, the effect of Barbecue and Chili is nice. But there are honestly better information perks out there in the game now. And people mostly just run Barbecue and Chili for the blood points. So we'll see how they handle it coming up. And as we can see, we're getting right into it. Barbecue and Chili. We already know what the current effect is. You hook people, you get stacks, you see people who are far away. This perk is incredibly popular, not because of it's particularly powerful, but because it's the huge amount of blood points it provides. Choosing to go into a match without it massively slows your progression. It's cool that they're addressing that directly. We do not want blood points to be a driving factor behind perk choices, so we will be removing the blood point bonus. While we understand this change may seem shocking, please keep in mind that this update reduces the grind by about 75%, with matchmaking incentives providing an additional avenue for blood points. We believe this is a necessary step in making our reading perks more appealing, as blood points gains will no longer be the deciding factor. I agree with them removing blood points from Barbecue and Chili. Now hold up before you continue. Hold up, let me finish, because I can already see people hopping into the comments or something about this. I think they should have just made that base. In my opinion, the blood point gain you earn from Barbecue and Chili and We're Gonna Live Forever should just be a base mechanic. It should just be a base mechanic in the game. Every time you hook someone, you get a stack. Every time you save someone, you get a stack. You know, what the effects of the blood point gains from those perks are, they should just be in the game base. That's just the reality of it, in my opinion. It's a little upsetting they removed it and did nothing else. But, I mean, they removed it alongside the patch that's reducing a fuck ton of the grind. So I can't blame them too much. This might just be me so used to running Barbecue and Chili these days, or for so long, that, you know, I'm just like, I don't know, deer in the headlights of like, holy shit, what am I going to do? But obviously with all these other grind changes, this might actually not be that bad. And I've been wanting to run, I love a lot of the other R rating perks, but it's just like, man, blood points though. So it'll definitely be nice to run some different stuff finally, and not have to worry about blood points as much. But like I said, I really wish those blood point gains would have just been made base. Hex Ruin. So this is the second time Hex Ruin is going to be getting a nerf rework of some kind. To bring Hex Ruin in line with other perks, we're reducing the regression speed to 50, 75, and 100%. From 100%, 150%, and 200%. This will reduce its power without destroying its primary appeal. After a survivor is killed, Hex Ruin will automatically deactivate. That's a pretty big nerf to Hex Ruin. Not that Hex Ruin didn't need a nerf. Ruin is insane. Like, people don't realize how insane Ruin is. If Ruin stays up the entire game, it can pretty much carry a person's game a lot of the time. So just having the... now, default regression, yes, it is slow. I do know that. It is slow. Yes, yes. But having it regress literally without having to do anything, that's pretty big still. That's pretty big in my opinion. The fact that it deactivates after a survivor is killed is also a pretty big thing as well. Honestly, they could have not had this aspect, like nerfing the numbers, or they could have nerfed the numbers a little bit less, like maybe had it max 150% or max 125%. And still had this part, and it would have been a pretty fine nerf. I'm wondering if they're over nerfing Rune here, but we've seen Rune for so long that maybe this is the kind of thing that you need, right? Like, for meta to change, you need pretty big nerfs like this. So it'll be interesting to see if people are gonna... that being said, though, people have not been running Ruin as much recently with the whole boon meta. People paying attention to totems more. So this might just be the final nail in the coffin for the fact that, you know, people aren't running Ruin as much. We got Pop here. Pop got a nerf a while ago to its how long you were able to get before it would run out. So we'll see what they're doing here with it now. Pop Goes the Weasel gives killers a controlled way to remove significant progress from a generator of the choosing. Given that kicking a generator now removes 2.5% of its default, we decided to tone down some of the numbers to compensate. The perk will now remove 20% of the generator's current, not total, progress. That's fine. That's honestly fine. Pop is still going to be pretty good in my opinion. 20% is still a pretty good amount of regression on a generator, especially the fact you get rewarded for it for just playing the game as killer, as long as you're doing well. So that's pretty cool. On top of the other 2.5% to kicking a thing, I honestly don't think this nerf will be felt as much, and it's probably something that's actually pretty needed. Corrupt Intervention. This perk... Oh, I have just accidentally clicked on the little icon over there. This perk makes the beginning of the match more manageable, forcing survivors to extend deeper into the map before repairing a generator. Moving forward, the perk will deactivate once a survivor enters the dying state. We believe the change will keep Corrupt Intervention effective in helping killers build early game pressure while providing a limit to its power. I think that's a pretty intelligent way to handle it. I was worried about a flat nerf to Corrupt under, the fact that it's so needed for setup killers like Trapper and Hag and some slower killers like Myers to really be able to actually get going in the game. So making it so that when it's just when a survivor enters the dying state, it deactivates. It'll make it so it won't be as strong on killers like Nurse, Spirit, other aggressive killers that really just run it to pretty much slow down the early game as much as possible. So that's a pretty nice change to it, in my opinion. Tinker is a popular choice. I'm going to stop reading the first part of this. I'm just going to read the effect. Therefore, Tinker can only activate once per generator, but with the base charges increase to 90%. Wait, what are they saying? Maybe I should read all this. It can be a little oppressive compared with regression perks. Therefore, Tinker can only activate once per generator, but with the base charges... Oh, okay, I see what they're saying. So it's only going to be able to activate once per generator, which is good. That was a change that a lot of people were suggesting. It's so annoying having to deal with something like Tinker and Ruin and have Tinker activate multiple times over and over and over again. The killer just comes over and kicks you off the generator, and you have to deal with it pretty much over and over. Depending on the killer they're playing, if they're playing an aggressive killer like Blight, it can be extremely oppressive. Once per generator, that's perfectly fine in my opinion. And with the fact that, like they said, it took me a second to realize what they were saying here. The fact it's going to take 90 seconds now, 90 charges as they worded it, to do a generator, you're going to have even more time to be able to get over to the generator. So that's totally fine in my opinion. It's almost like they're just retweaking it for the most part. It is a nerf, but with the fact that you're going to have so much more time to have such an early warning on the generator, it's almost like it's kind of in the same spot where it was, just a little bit weaker. All right, here's the nerf that we're all waiting for, or the change that we're all waiting for. Hopefully it's actually good. I can't stand Noed. I can't stand it as a perk. I can't stand it as killer. I can't stand it as survivor. I hate Noed with burning passion. So we will see what happens here. This, like I said, I wasn't going to read the beginning part. Preemptively, we like the way Noed encourages survivors to preemptively cleanse totems. So we're not looking to weaken its direct strength. Instead, survivors will now see the Hex Totem's aura within 4 meters upon activation. This range increases to 24 meters over the course of 30 seconds. That's a pretty interesting change, actually. I didn't expect them to go that route with Noed. I still think they should do something with the fact that Noed essentially rewards you for doing nothing. You can still sit here all game, and you will still get Noed at the end of the game. You can do nothing the entire game, and you'll still get Noed. I think that's a little messed up in many ways. So I wish there was a thing where you had to hook at least 4 survivors to have Noed activate, or something like that, or hook each survivor once, like a token system. But this is also works fine. Finding Noed sometimes, this is gonna remove the aspect where Noed will spawn in a fuck ass part of the map and you just can't find it and you just feel like you're screwed. That being said, this still won't change the fact that it might spawn in a really, really annoying spot. Like, they hook someone and NOED spawns right next to them. That person's basically just dead on a hook. There's nothing you can do to save them in that situation. Or pretty much nothing you can do to save them. Either way, I'm down for any change to NOED. Anything that incentivizes people to run it less is good in my book. So this is a cool change, and it's going to be nice to not have to run like a totem finding perk over, like, under the guise that it's just like, oh, like, I got to be ready for NOED in case they have it. So that's pretty cool. Pain resonance. We are removing the loud noise notification. Instead of exploding, the affected generator will now spark upon losing progress. The survivors will no longer scream. We believe this will ensure pain resonance remains a strong regression perk while limiting its informational aspect. That's going to actually remove the synergy it has with Deadman's. I'm forgetting the full name of that perk. It's going to remove the synergy with that, which is really the big kicker for pain resonance. Was the fact that it synergizes with Deadman's. That was a pretty insane synergy. I wonder if the perk is still going to be pretty good with these changes. I think it's still going to be pretty decent. The fact it's losing its information aspect is a bit unfortunate, but maybe it's something that's needed, as it did feel like it was double dipping a bit in the perk categories, both being regression and information, pretty much global information. So maybe it's nerf that wasn't needed. We'll see how it performs when they actually ship this to live. And also, we'll see if they change any of this. I mean, the PTB, once the PTB hits, they're obviously going to potentially change aspects of this. So we'll see if they make any future changes, and I'll definitely comment on those changes on live. We'll definitely look at the live release of this patch. Dead Hard. This is a perk people have wanted nerfed for a while. There are two main ways Dead Hard is used: to dodge a hit and for distance. In the latter case, there's not much a killer can do, therefore Dead Hard will now provide the endurance effect for 1 second when activated. If you time it right, you'll prevent the hit and gain a movement speed boost. This will remove Dead Harding for distance, and it's solely used to dodge hits, which killers can anticipate and even bait accordingly. So that's a pretty interesting change. I knew that they were probably going to change it to being they wanted it to simply be you're able to avoid a hit. But I didn't think they would go the route of giving you endurance for a second. This is going to have a lot of interesting applications, actually. In many ways, this is going to make it better as a kind of play risky perk, in a sense of you can go for a save, you can activate your Dead Hard, the killer hits you, you have that endurance, they have to go through the cooldown, and you can hopefully get the person off. This is something you could always do with Dead Hard, but maybe it's going to be even easier now with this. I feel like there's a lot of other ways you're going to be able to use this perk now, so I'm very interested to see what Dead Hard is like moving forward. I am interested to see, is there going to be a visual indication, though? I think it would be a bit weird if there wasn't a visual indication for when the survivor activated Dead Hard, but maybe there won't be. Maybe there won't be. Maybe that'll be better, actually. It'll be like an entire whole mind game system behind Dead Hard, even more so than what we have now. Like I'm thinking, like, you run into a pallet, killer's chasing you, they're in hit distance, and they're like, all right, this guy, I'm gonna wait this guy's Dead Hard, you know what I mean? And we're talking this Dead Hard, not like new Dead Hard, like not current Dead Hard. And you as a survivor, you have Dead Hard, and you're like, I'm not gonna use my Dead Hard until I get to that pallet. And I'm just thinking of this whole mind game system behind, like, when to use your Dead Hard to be able to screw the killer over from a hit. That's gonna be super sick, actually. I'm actually pretty excited for this change. It's gonna be very interesting. It's always nice when you see an intelligent use of current Dead Hard, and it's gonna be even more exciting now that you're gonna be losing basically the more obnoxious uses of it, I would say, and it's gonna be a lot of more intelligent play, which is very sick. We got D-Strike here again. It already got nerfed a while ago, but we're gonna see what happens again. Moving forward, Decisive Strike will now deactivate once the exit gates are powered. I've always wanted that to be a thing. I Additionally, the stun duration has been reduced from 5 seconds to 3 seconds. We'll also be simplifying the description to the perk. Decisive Strike will be cancelled by conspicuous actions. I'm fine with all that stuff. Decisive Strike is still pretty powerful as an anti-tunneling perk. And now that they're already implementing other things to deal with anti-tunneling, it's nice that this will get changed. Or it's nice that this is going to be, changed in some way. Borrowed Time. So we'll see how they change Borrowed Time alongside the other changes. Borrowed Time will now extend the endurance effect by 6, 8, 10 seconds and increase the movement speed bonus duration by 10 seconds for any survivor you unhook. These effects will be cancelled if the unhooked survivor performs a conspicuous action. So that's interesting. That's what I was saying. Is it actually going to extend the duration of a lot of those things? And it looks like it is. So it's even going to be getting a extension to the haste status effect. With the fact that these already are going to exist, I'm wondering how necessary Borrowed Time will be to run. So we'll definitely see. We might see people really stop running Borrowed Time unless, they're really looking to get people off of the hook. So yeah, I'm very interested to see how Borrowed Time performs with the overall changes to anti-tunneling and this change right here. We'll definitely see. Iron Will. We are lowering the grunts of pain reduction to 20, 50, 75%. Additionally, Iron Will is no longer active when exhausted, though it will not cause the exhaustion itself. I really wondered if they needed to do this nerf here, if they were going to do this. Granted, 75% is still a lot, especially on certain survivors that are already super quiet by default. So I'm interested to see how people will change, or how people... Will people still run Iron Will, especially with the fact it's no longer going to be able to be used with exhaustion perks pretty much, as once you use an exhaustion perk, it's just not going to be active, especially if you're using something like Sprint Burst, which means you're most of the time going to be exhausted before Chase even starts. Overall, this is an interesting change to Iron Will, and it's definitely something that needed to get changed. The fact that you were quieter when you were injured with current Iron Will than you were when you were healthy was pretty screwed up. Unfortunately, that's an aspect of the way the sound design is and how that all works. So we'll definitely see. 75% is still going to be a lot, I think. Still going to be a pretty big reduction. The fact it's going to be canceled out by exhaustion is definitely an interesting aspect. So we'll probably see a lot less people using it alongside exhaustion perks. And maybe it'll be a choice now. Do I want Iron Will or do I want an exhaustion perk? So that might shake things up a little bit. We're still only on the nerfs, by the way. I'm assuming all the stuff under non-meta perk changes is going to be buffed, so I'm interested to see what they buff and how they change those things, and what if we see some stuff, crazy stuff in the future. I'm excited for crazy stuff. Self-care. Though self-care has a divisive reputation among the community, we were surprised to find its usage peaks in the highest skill matches. I don't get it, man. I really don't get it, honest to God. Oh my God. Like, self-care takes so long. Like, it's got to be people using it with, like, medkits and shit. To reduce his strength, self-care's heal speed will be lowered to 35%, and the item efficiency bonus has been removed entirely. There's zero reason to run this perk. You're trolling if you run this perk, honest to God. You're 35%. That is not even accounting for things like Sloppy Butcher, the Mangled effect, if someone's running Colorophobia, which is actually getting buffed. By the way, that's going to be down here. That's going to be down under non-meta perk changes. There's no reason to run this perk now. You had to run a pretty specific build to use self-care in general, in my opinion. You had to use it with a medkit to make use of that item efficiency bonus. You had to use it with other things. Because that 50% was still super slow. It was super slow. 30, I can't even imagine someone sitting and healing for 35%. That takes forever. That takes so long. There's no reason to run this perk. I'm going to be excited to run this perk in some really stupid builds, some kind of meme builds. But if you're playing... Even in meme builds, man, like, there's so little reason. There's like no reason to run self-care anymore. Which, that's whatever. It's fine. But that's insane, dude. That's such a big nerf to self-care. A perk that was already received such a big nerf a long time ago. So that'll be funny. If I swear to God, if I see people self-caring in my lobbies as a solo survivor, I'm gonna be pissed, dude. I'm gonna be so pissed. Spine chill. I'm interested to see how they change this. I'm interested to see how they change all. I keep saying that, but yeah, I'm wondering if they're gonna. I'm just gonna read it. I'm gonna shut up and read it, and actually just read the damn thing. Spine Chill will now only activate if the killer has clear line of sight of the survivor. This will remove the awkward counterplay where the killer must look away to ensure a stealthy approach. Next, we'll be adding a short 0.5-second lingering effect to Spine Chill. This will prevent the perk icon from flickering when the killer looks around to make the action speed boosts more consistent. Finally, we'll be removing the vault speed bonus entirely, as it does not suit the perk's nature. Interesting changes. I like how they tackled... it's always annoying as a stealth killer, the fact that this perk was basically just like geared towards like it would just counter your entire existence, you know what I mean? So that was kind of annoying. But it's kind of nice that they're adding this, again, a sort of intelligent nerf to it where it is line of sight only if you actually can see the person. So you know, as a stealth killer, you can approach from you're already approaching from pretty crazy angles. As someone who plays a lot of stealth killers myself, you're already approaching from pretty, interesting angles. So that'll fit in right well. Spine Chill will hopefully be less of a thing for stealth killers. And it is unfortunate that they're removing the vault speed bonus, but I could understand that they're saying it does not suit the perk's nature. I totally get that. Honestly, I think they should have maybe thrown a little buff to the action speed if they were going to get rid of the vault speed. Like, they should maybe make the action speed 8%. And it's nice that they're making it so there's that lingering effect, because seeing the perks icon like flash all the time is a little annoying. But yeah, I think they should have maybe thrown a little buff to Spine Chill with the fact that they're removing the vault speed, because it's obviously not going to be used in the vault speed build anymore. Not that it was really necessary. Resilience alone I thought was totally fine for getting away with some pretty crazy vaults. But either way, very cool change to Spine Chill. I'm really down with it. And that's the last of the meta perk changes. Overall, I'm pretty happy with all these. I'm scrolling through them again because I felt like I talked about them for literally an insane amount of time. Yeah, all these I think I was pretty on board for with most. I wish they would have added a token aspect to Noed so you don't just get it for doing nothing. I think maybe... Actually, I think I'm going to wait on the Iron Will thing. Self-care is basically just like, you don't even bother running it anymore. Tinkerer change was great. Corrupt Intervention change was great. Pop change is really it's going to be the same perk still pretty much. It's not really that much of a change. Alongside the other change to base kicking. The blood point bonus not being base is a little unfortunate, but it's okay with the other grind changes. Ruin change will be interesting. I think, once again, we're going to see a lot less of Ruin already. We're seeing a lot less of Ruin because of the boon meta. I think, like I said, this is going to be the final nail in the coffin for Ruin being a really prevalent perk. So yeah, overall, some pretty great changes to the meta perks. Really some of the best we've seen in a while, in my opinion. So really good stuff from Behavior so far. And we're going to see the non-meta perk changes, which is really a majority. Like, there's less here, right? There's definitely some things they didn't tackle that I wish they did. Adrenaline wasn't touched on here. Unbreakable wasn't touched on. I think those are the two big ones that I think maybe should have gotten a change alongside these ones. I'm trying to think. But I think that's really it. I think Sprint Burst, while being... I was thinking maybe they could have changed Sprint Burst at all, but Sprint Burst has a pretty inherent downside. It has a very clear downside if you run Sprint Burst. As strong as it is, it does have a clear downside for the most part. Let's move on to the non-meta perk changes. So obviously, there's going to be a lot here, so let's just try to blow through them. And we'll talk about them a little bit and move on to the next one. Overcharge will cause a kick generator's regression speed to grow from 100% to 400% over the course of 30 seconds. Survivors will want to stop this generator from regressing as soon as possible. Very cool. I like that. Gives an incentive to actually deal with that, with the overcharge generator quickly, sooner rather than later, and have to deal with a skill check. A lot of people can land that skill check, but honestly, I think there's a lot less people that can land the skill check than people realize. The skill check can really be a pain in the bitch sometimes, I'll tell you that. So that's cool. That 400%, oh man, that's going to be funny if it actually ramps up. I kind of wish there was a little aura thing that would tell you as a killer, because it's not saying that here, but I kind of wish there was a little aura that would tell you when the generator has ramped up to 400%. So that would be nice if they would add that in the PTB, something like that. Eruption. Release with fairly safe numbers, but upon reflection, we're comfortable with increasing them. I always thought this perk could have been really good if they had tweaked the numbers. So up the generator regression penalty to 10% and the duration of the incapacitated status effect to 25 seconds. Very sick change. I'm down with it. I like it a lot. I think it's still going to be a lot of setup for having, you're going to have to like kick a bunch of generators to really get a lot of value out of it. But with the other changes to base kicking and all that, it could definitely be a much better perk. Those of you who like to see survivors on the ground can have a little more peace of mind knowing that its current effect, knockout, will cause dying survivors to crawl 50% slower for 15 seconds and reduce the recovery speed by 25%. What, didn't it always do that? I thought it always reduced the crawl speed of survivors, but maybe not. Maybe it doesn't. But definitely never changed the regression to recovery speed is very nice, and it's pretty much a direct counter to Unbreakable for the most part. So very cool stuff. Great for slugging, obviously. Good for slugging killers. I think maybe slugging killers will actually start to run knockout a good bit more. To make healing in the killer's terror radius even more unappealing, Colorphobia will now increase the speed of skill checks by 50% on top of its current effect. That's going to be funny, seeing really fast skill checks come in as you're healing. It doesn't say increases the chance though, just increases the speed. I was going to say it'd be really funny to run Autodidact into Colorphobia, but it doesn't increase the chance of getting a skill check, so that's sad. Also, Autodidact's not going to be on here. I think I'm remembering that now. I didn't see Autodidact, and I'm very upset about that. But maybe it is. Maybe it'll be a little surprise. Maybe it'll be on here. But I don't think it will be, which is sad to me, because I think that perk needs a little bit of buffs, and it could be really good. This perk is great for Dark Devotion. I've always thought this perk was honestly pretty decent, so it's cool to see what will be changed here. Dark Devotion will now activate whenever the obsession loses a health state. Oh, it has a basic attack requirement. I didn't realize that. I think I always knew that, but I didn't like fully think about that ever. So that's cool. That's a nice little buff to it. It's gonna be good on. I wonder if it's gonna be like really good on someone like a Huntress or something, But we'll see. Obviously, she still has her lullaby, but could be better. I always thought this perk was honestly pretty good, so we'll see if more people run it. Jolt or Surge. I'm just gonna call it Surge because I've always called it Surge. Allows the killer to regress generates by simply downing a survivor. To make it more consistent and punish careless survivor plays, we have removed its cooldown. Ooh, I like that change. I've always loved Surge so much. Surge is one of my favorite regression perks in the entire game. I think it's one of the best regression perks in the game, actually, for the fact you pretty much just regress for, especially on M1 killers. A lot of stealth killers really like it, like Ghostface, Wraith, Sadako. I think it's always been really good, so it's exciting to see this change. This is going to be so exciting. I love this perk, dude, and I'm so excited to run it even more now. So I hope they keep that change. That's really nice. I was always wondering maybe they should have removed the basic attack requirement for it, but I think that might have been a little bit insane. That might have been a little too much, so I'm happy with this change. That's actually a really cool change. Lethal Pursuer. On top of the existing effect, Lethal Pursuer now extend the duration of all aura reading effects by 2 seconds. That is so cool. I think this is the first time we've ever seen a perk interact with another, like buff your other perks. I've always thought there should have been a perk that did that, and as killer, and it's so cool to finally see that. So it's going to extend the duration of all aura reading effects by 2 seconds, which is so cool. I love that. I run Lethal Pursuer a lot, especially on Legion, so I'm definitely going to run that alongside some more aura reading effects to really get that value. Scourge Hook, Gift of Pain. Was it always called Gift of Pain? Maybe it was. Also shipped with safe numbers. It was also the first Scourge Hook perk they added, and it was pretty mediocre, all things considered. So we'll be increasing the action speed penalty to 10, 13, and 16%. That's cool. I like those numbers change. I always thought it was, again, I've always thought it was, could have been a pretty good perk if they upped the numbers on the thing. So cool to see that. So that might be a lot better now. We are increasing Thanatophobia. We're increasing the action speed penalty to 4.5, 5, and 5.5% per survivor for a maximum of 22% at tier 3. Very cool stuff. Thanatophobia, in my opinion, is always a good perk. Yeah, it was always a good perk, so now it's even better perk. So that's pretty awesome. And now that they've gotten rid of, like a long time ago, you know, they got rid of the whole healing aspect of it, it feels like a less oppressive and like snowballing perk, which is kind of nice. So it's cool to see the numbers get increased even more on that perk. It's really good against does it actually affect booning? Because I was going to say it's really good against booning, but I don't think it actually affects booning. If it doesn't, it should. I'm not going to look that up right now, just because I don't feel like having to go and look that up. I don't want to waste any more time. But if it doesn't affect booting, it should affect booning. But it's still a solid perk all around, and I love Thanatophobia. So I'm happy to see it buffed here. Scourge Hook, Monster Shrine, hell yeah. People have been asking for this perk. Ever since Scourge Hooks were released, people have been asking for Monster Shrine to be changed to a Scourge Hook perk for a long time. So let's see what they do here. This perk will now convert all basement hooks to Scourge Hooks. Additionally, Scourge Hooks will now grant 20% faster entity progression, but only if the killer is not within 24 meters. I like that. Both incentivizing not camping the basement, as well as, you know, making the basement far more lethal to be hooked in. So very cool stuff. I like that. I'm interested to see if we'll see some Monster Shrine coming up. Maybe on certain killers that really want to play around the basement with a build around it. You could definitely see that. Basement Demo, for example. Basement Demo just got a really good perk to be using. So I'm definitely going to play some Basement Demo when this update hits. I'll tell you that right now. So Survivor perks. Let's see some of the changes here. Calm Spirit. In addition to Calm Spirit's current effects, you can now open chests and cleanse. Oh, you can now open chests, cleanse, and bless totems silently, albeit at 40% reduced speed. That is very interesting. Huh. Oh, 30%. I'm sorry, I read that backwards. 30% reduced speed. Okay, so that's a little less of a reduction. That's interesting. So if you're going to run this perk, you pretty much have to deal with the fact you're going to be doing things slower, but you are going to do them silently. That's kind of cool. This will be pretty good for, like, dealing with totems, I bet. Honestly, you can kind of just, like, do it right in front of the killer's face and they won't even know. That's cool. I like that change. I like the change. I like the fact that's got this, like, this aspect of it is something we don't see often. Like, a perk that kind of, like, nerfs an aspect of yourself for a stronger aspect to be able to do something better is something you don't see often from perks. So I think that's really cool that they did that. I still think they should have done something more with the whole crow aspect of it, but I'm okay with this. After months of studying, Saboteur can now identify Scourge Hooks. Their auras are shown in yellow when a survivor is being carried. Use this information to your advantage to prevent Scourge Hook perks from being activated. They still should change the fact that this perk should only go on cooldown if you actually do the goddamn Sabo. It's super annoying that Saboteur goes on cooldown if you just touch a hook. If you just touch a damn hook, it goes on cooldown. So they should really change that. I think something more should be done for Saboteur here. I think it's great that it'll be able to recognize Scourge Hooks, but I think really the thing all they need to do is make it so it only goes on cooldown if you actually sabotage a hook instead of you just touching the hook. Body Knowledge. Body Knowledge now increases item speed efficiency by 50%. Ooh, very nice. I've always used Body Knowledge on a lot of Survivor builds, so I'm excited for that change. Very cool. Good that they didn't touch the healing speed aspect of it, because it definitely was not an aspect that needed to be changed. This is only for items. Healing speed efficiency, not actual healing speed, just for items. Off the record, upon getting unhooked, gain the endurance status effect for 80 seconds. The endurance effect is lost upon performing a conspicuous action. While this is a lengthy endurance effect, any game progressing action will cancel it prematurely, making it purely for evading the killer after being unhooked. That is crazy. I don't think that's crazy overpowered. I think that's crazy good, and that's like something I think I'm going to start seeing in my games. Off the record, this is alongside the stuff it already does, which is no scratch marks, I'm pretty sure, and no aura reading. Or is it no scratch marks? I think it's no scratch marks. Yeah, I think it's no scratch marks, no aura reading. And now it's going to do this. I think this is something I want to see in my games a lot. This is definitely going to be like, I think this might take over for the new anti-tunneling perk. Like, you know, years we've had DS. I think this is going to be the new DS, honestly. I think not as bad as DS, obviously. Not as bad as, like, you know, you get stunned. But I think this is going to be the new, like, Survivor wants to get into your face and be annoying after they get unhooked. This is going to be the perk right here. It's going to be off the record. So I'm for it. I'm all for it, man. I love when Survivors play like that. I think it's super fun. So I'm all for it. I like the change. I'm down with it. I hope it ships. Or I hope, you know, I hope any part of it ships, you know. Maybe they should reduce that a little bit, maybe down to like 50 seconds or something. But I think that should stay this. I think that's great. I love that change. Lucky Break. While the perk is great for escaping chase, the effect quickly runs out. We're giving survivors a way to recharge Lucky Break. Each second spent healing another survivor increases Lucky Break's duration by 1 second. That is pretty cool. The total time cannot exceed the starting duration. Okay, so you can't go over the max. So that's really cool. Lucky Break was always a really good perk, but it ran out so quickly. So this is cool if they're changing it like this. So that's awesome. I can see distortions down here. I looked down and I was looking at this and I was like, man, they should do something like that for distortion, and distortion's right down there. So I'm assuming they're going to do something with token recharge. I'm not even reading it yet, and I already have a feeling they're going to do something with the recharging the tokens there. Pharmacy used to guarantee an emergency medkit the first time you search a chest, which you'd either hope nobody takes before you need it or hide it in a far off corner like a medkit goblin. Now pharmacy will activate whenever you're injured, guaranteeing an emergency medkit when you search a chest. This effect can happen multiple times in one trial. That is very interesting. Not the direction I thought they were going to take with pharmacy, but I really like it. Being able to activate it multiple times in a trial, the increased speed to searching chests, and the sound reduction on top of it only activating when you're injured means I'm going to be able to run it in a lot of cool chest builds. So that is pretty sick. I like it. I like it a lot. I thought they were going to just make it so you get the medkit when you rummage instead of actually searching a chest. Soul Survivor. In addition to hiding your aura, Soul Survivor will now increase your generator repair speed by 75% and your exit gate and hatch action speeds by 50%. These effects are only active when you're the last survivor standing. So this is like the ultimate, like, actually fitting the Soul Survivor. I think I'll see this perk like every now and then, but this obviously isn't going to be like, this never was going to be like a, if they were going to fit the theme here, right, of like being the last person standing, it was never going to be a meta perk, but I think it's a very cool thematic perk. I give it an A+ for being thematic. I just banged the shit out of my desk, dude. Oh my god. So I give it an A+ for being thematic. Very cool change. Really, it's going to help with getting that one achievement actually, which is the be the last person standing and power the last generator and leave through the gates. Like that it'll help with that achievement a lot for people who don't have that. I'm gonna take a drink of my water. I think we're reaching the final stretch here. Distortion. For those who like to stay hidden, we've added a way to regain distortion tokens. Gain 1 token for every 30 seconds you spend in the killer's tether radius. Very cool. There's always should have been a way to get tokens back from distortion. Distortion's always been good. It's even better now with all the aura reading, with all the new aura reading effects. It's just a perk that gets better over time the more aura reading they add in the game on the killer side. So it's cool that you're finally getting a way to get those tokens back. In addition to Lightweight's existing effects, scratch marks will be more sporadic, making them harder to track. Your scratch marks will also fade 3 seconds sooner. up from 1 second. Oh, I've always thought lightweight was honestly pretty good, especially against a killer who's so used to how scratch marks function by default. Running lightweight really like fucks with their their muscle memory, you know. So this is going to be really crazy, especially since there's a point. I think by 7 seconds by default, scratch marks are basically indecipherable. You can't really see them all that well unless you're really paying attention. So this is going to be like crazy. I don't know if it's going to be OP, but it's going to be much nicer to use for sure. You're definitely going to see the effects of lightweight a lot more. Even when I thought I was a defender of lightweight, I always thought lightweight was pretty decent, all things considered. To help survivors power 3 closest generators, Deja Vu will grant a 5% repair speed bonus to the revealed generators. Very cool. Deja Vu is always kind of nice, especially for newer players. And now it's even better perk, not only for newer players, but for experienced players. You get that nice repair speed bonus right there. I can see now that they've nerfed generators in general. It seems like they're a bit more open to buffing repair speeds on the survivor side, which I think is super cool, and I'm totally down for. Just, you know, we can't go too overkill with it, you know what I mean? Because, you know, things like toolboxes still exist in the game. There's still plenty of ways to stack repair speed on top of itself a million times over, you know? No One Left Behind. Beyond its current effects, No One Left Behind will grant a 7% movement speed bonus to any survivor you unhook. Additionally, the perk now activates when the gates are powered rather than open. So I'm assuming that 7% movement speed bonus is only when the perk is actually activated. So once the gates are powered, so now no longer is it going to be opened, which is very nice. Once the gates are powered, if you unhook someone, they're going to be moving a lot faster, which is pretty sick. So that's a cool endgame perk right there. Dark Sense. We've changed the way Dark Sense works. When a generator is powered, Dark Sense activates. The next time the killer comes within 24 meters of you, their aura is revealed for 10 seconds. Then Dark Sense deactivates. That's a nice change to Dark Sense. Dark Sense was always pretty good, but now it's even better because the aura reading is going to be more applicable, or it's going to be more. It's going to be at a time when you need it more than at a time when, you know, the killer is all the way across the map and they're doing something you don't care about. So, I mean, it was nice to know about those things, to check in on your killer friend all the way across the map, but it wasn't that necessary. So it's cool that they're making it so it feels like it's going to be a more prevalent perk. Tenacity now reduces your grunt speed by 75% when you're in the dying state. I don't know why they're making a perk for that. That already exists in the game. It's a fucking bug in the game that's exists for 8 billion goddamn years. Maybe fix the goddamn bug behavior before you make it a perk. Holy shit. I think that's funny. All things considered, though, it doesn't happen as much anymore in my experience, and having a perk for it is just throwing it on Tenacity is quite nice. Combined with increased crawling speeds, the perk will now be much more effective at crawling away from the killer. Okay, so they're just adding the 75% grunt of pain reduction, which I'm down with. But like I said, sometimes you're just not making grunts of pain anyways because the game bugs out. So you know, it's a nice love to Tenacity for sure, but they should really fix that bug, to be honest. It's been in the game for forever now, and it's still a thing every now and then. Not as much, but still every now and then. Hope is great for those that want to make the late game saves, but the limited duration can cause it to expire at an inconvenient time. Since this perk is only useful at the end of the match, we've removed the duration entirely. Shit, dude. Permanent movement speed? That's crazy, dude. I mean, they're already given... This was... No One Left Behind gives a permanent movement speed as well, it looks like here. It doesn't specify a duration. But having it on yourself is pretty damn cool. That's pretty sick. I like that. In its current state, cleansing a totem grants you a repair speed of 8%. Now that bonus doubles if you cleanse a hex totem. That's pretty cool. And my dogs are barking. That's a nice little buff, and you know, to make it so hex totems are cooler to do. You know, we're gonna live forever. Much like barbecue and chili, this perk features a massive blood point bonus. We do not want blood points to dictate which perks are used, so we're going to remove it. That's expected with what happened with barbecue. This change will release the same time as the progression overhaul, which is expected to cut the grind by about 75%, with matchmaking incentives providing an additional avenue for build points. Yeah. And that's that. Interesting that they didn't give... I guess We're Gonna Live Forever is fine. I'm not going to even sit here and humor the fact that it needs anything more. We're Gonna Live Forever is really good, actually, against anti-air to stop slugging. So, once again, though, sad that that's not a base part of the game, the whole blood point thing. Overall, scrolling up, looking at all this, I give it 2 thumbs up, man. This is good. This was good. I'm eating good. I'm seeing a lot of stuff I like. I'm seeing a lot of stuff I'm excited for. This was really cool. Very good by behavior. Really nice stuff. So yeah, I'll definitely, if things change in the PTB, we'll definitely do another video on the live update, which I'm sure things will get adjusted and changed. Interested to see what sticks, what stays, and what goes. But anyways, I know this was a long video. This was an hour and 10 minutes, really long stuff. Thanks for sticking with me. If you stuck with it, put me on in the background. Otherwise, thanks for watching. And until next time, remember to subscribe to support the channel. It helps encourage me to make new videos, and like the video if you enjoyed it. And until next time, I'll see you later.